What the fuck are you doing?
Me? Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
Obviously, I'm listening to What the Fuck Are You Doing podcast, one of the newest podcasts of You Run Podcast Network. It's a podcast featuring E-Bitty and Herm Dizzle. They come together Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, get it, to bring you episodes about pop culture, movies, and any bullshit they can think of. Yo, this podcast got so many dick jokes, it's like a bag of dicks. Anyways, check out the WTF Are You Doing podcast, brought to you right here by the You Run Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pizza Bones, a production of the You Gonna Eat That Crust podcast. I am Greg.
I'm Kate.
And I am Nate.
And we are proud members of the You Run Podcast Network,
where you can find our shows and all the other great shows
on yourunpodcast.com. Go check it out.
All right, and tonight we are discussing a case that is brought to you by a Patreon member. Shout out to Sandy. We finally are getting to this case. It's been so long, but here we are. And tonight we are discussing the case of Gypsy Rose. Okay, so the Gypsy Rose case involves the 2015 murder of Gypsy's mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, which uncovered years of severe medical abuse. Dee Dee had a psychological disorder known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy, where she had convinced others that her healthy daughter had numerous serious illnesses. After enduring years of manipulation and unnecessary medical procedures, Gypsy conspired with her online boyfriend, Nicholas Godijon, to kill her mother as a means of escape. For nearly 2 decades, Dee Dee subjected Gypsy to fabricated illness to gain sympathy and financial support. Dee Dee convinced the doctors that Gypsy suffered from leukemia, muscular dystrophy, epilepsy, and other chronic illnesses, none of which Gypsy actually had. The deception led to Gypsy undergoing unnecessary surgeries, using a wheelchair and a feeding tube, and taking various medications. Dee Dee shaved Gypsy's head to mimic the effects of chemotherapy and kept her socially isolated, misrepresenting her age to keep up the charade. As Gypsy got older, she began to realize her mother's deception and sought a way out, and that is what we are going to be talking about tonight. Nate, you want to give us a little bit of the background of her early life?
Yeah, so Gypsy Rose was born July 27th, 1991. That's the same year you were born, Greg?
I was actually born in 1993, so she's a few years older than me.
All right. I knew it was early 90s. I just didn't quite pinpoint it correctly.
By proxy.
Yeah, so she was born in Louisiana, obviously, to Claudette Dee Dee Blanchard. She was 24 years old, and Rod Blanchard was only 18 at the time, although I also saw that he was 17.
Yeah, so, I heard he was 17. Maybe he just turned 18.
Her motive a little bit better, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys know how she got her name, Gypsy Rose?
No.
Allegedly.
You want to tell the people?
Tell me.
I mean, I heard that, the mom picked Gypsy. She really liked Gypsy. Yeah. And the dad picked Rose from Guns N' Roses.
Oh, yeah. Obviously. Welcome to the jungle, baby.
Right? Sweet child of mine, right? Her parents separated before her birth, and Ron had limited contact of her during her childhood, although he did want to have a relationship with her. Dee Dee kind of kept him out of the picture.
Yeah, it's weird. I had heard that when they did talk, like they never talked as like father and daughter. They just talked
Mhm.
like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yeah.
Anything new? Like it was kind of. So I don't know that she even knew that was her real father.
Oh, that's an interesting perspective there too. Yeah, because later on, there's some prison emails that went back and forth, and it's
Yep.
really, really odd if you didn't put it in context.
I think she was led to, Dee Dee led her to feel that her father wasn't interested
Mhm.
in being part of her life. So, bit of parental alienation as well to add to the mix.
Yeah. From a young age, Dee Dee began fabricating health issues for Gypsy, saying that she suffered from conditions like sleep apnea, epilepsy, muscular dystrophy, which escalated over time to include leukemia, vision and hearing impairments, seizures, and digestive problems. Around 7 or 8, it's hard to tell since her mom lied so much. She had a minor motorcycle accident, causing her a knee abrasion. Dee Dee insisted that Gypsy needed a wheelchair despite her being able to walk and began shaving her head to stimulate chemotherapy treatments.
She removed her like saliva glands too, as well, right?
Yeah, she had feeding tubes, oxygen tanks, was subjected to gastrointestinal
Gastrointestinal?
operations, all while being prescribed medications she didn't need. She attended school briefly. She really didn't have friends her age. She mainly learned through Disney cartoons and stuffed animals, which that's the way to be, right? Living in a fairy tale.
She must have had a farm. That's how she learned how to have sex. Just like Ed Gein. Or
Oh,
no, no, who was that? That was Dean Coral. I'm sorry.
gross. Her family relied on Social Security, disability benefits, food stamps, child support from Rod, and then also charitable donations from Make a Wish and Habitat for Humanity. 2005, their home was destroyed by Katrina, and they got our house built for them.
Yeah, that
By
was Habitat. Yeah, Habitat
yeah,
for Humanity. Sorry.
yeah, no worries, yeah. Which is wild to think about, just make up some stories, get a house out of it.
Yeah, the whole community. I remember the whole community like pitched in, and
Mhm,
everybody was like, "Oh, we have this mother with this really disabled girl coming to our town. So
mhm.
let's give her a warm welcome." And I can imagine when once they found out, that they got duped, that they were not very happy because I mean, obviously, it's a fucking horrible thing to do.
Right,
It's such a tough case because the abuse that Gypsy went through, kind of obviously led her down this path. And obviously, I'm not excusing anything she did because what she did is absolutely horrible. And I think
right.
we talked before the show. I think we all agree that she definitely should have got at least what Nicholas got.
True.
Mm, yeah. And I think too, they were being sent money, like they just get cash donations from members of the
Mhm.
public. They were really benefiting financially. They got trips to
Oh, yeah.
Disneyland. Have you
Yep.
seen the footage of them singing to each other on stage?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Have you
Was
watched?
that was on the documentary, right?
I think so. Have you seen Megan 2.0 or whatever it is, the second Megan?
I haven't.
Okay, there's a fucking scene. There's a scene in it where Megan sings to someone, and all I can think of when I see that footage now is Megan singing. So when you watch it, you're gonna have to. You'll know what I mean when you watch it. But god damn, it's
Oh,
funny. Yeah, it's pretty
Gypsy's
good.
voice in general just is like nails on a
Oh,
chatboard. I
Yeah.
can't.
I'm
It's
so glad you
like
said
Sandy, I love you. You're awesome, but man, this case, you're killing me.
that.
I had such a hard time researching.
And now, do you guys think that she knew? Like, I mean, obviously, she knew she wasn't as messed up as her mom was portraying her to be, or suffering from some of these, like, because obviously she could walk.
Take a walk. I think that's a huge tale right there. Because how can you be told that you can't walk when you know that you can physically get up, and if you don't use your leg muscles, you're gonna lose them. So she
Yeah.
has to be somehow stimulating her legs, right?
I did hear about one situation where she got out of her wheelchair at like a family picnic thing and was jumping on a trampoline. And then when Dee Dee came out, Gypsy Rose collapsed and,
Mhm.
did the crawl back to her wheelchair. So
Right.
she was
The
very aware
miracle.
that she could walk.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
she knew she had to play the part.
Mhm.
And whether that was for survival against her mother or in order to keep getting the nice things she was given, I'd say it was probably a bit of both, to be honest. But I
Yeah.
would say
Right.
she was being very deceptive and being taught how to be manipulative from a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and she knows how to lie. And like just looking at her interviews with the police,
Mm-hmm.
she knows
Oh,
how to
yeah.
lie.
Yeah.
And she definitely tried to escape multiple times as well, too. She tried to escape her mom. I think
Mhm.
she shot her mom with a BB gun like a couple times to try to escape, and then Dee Dee like overpowered her. And then there was a time where they were at a Comic-Con and she ended up at some dude's hotel and Dee Dee tracked her down. I want to say she was maybe told that she couldn't have any sugar or any sweets, like it would like essentially like kind of kill her.
Yeah, she was told she was allergic to sugar, which is absolute bullshit. You can be diabetic, but allergic to sugar is a bit of a stretch because sugar's in everything, pretty much.
I'm allergic to sugar. I'm fucked.
Though I did find out that Gypsy Rose did have one genuine surgery, a corrective optic surgery for her. She had a really lazy eye, which her eye is still pretty noticeably not good. And I do wonder if I think the motorcycle accident was definitely a catalyzing incident where Dee Dee probably went, oh, this feels good, this attention I'm getting for this, injury. And it might be that's where she put all the pieces together. But she had this corrective surgery before she was 1. And, she would have gotten sympathy for her daughter having to have surgery as a baby. And although surgeries on infants are quite common, but still probably very stressful. So, yeah, I wonder if that's where she, but Dee Dee apparently had a pretty interesting upbringing herself. So I think the pieces were all in position for this to not go great if she had a child. So,
Right.
Yeah, totally. Gypsy was obviously benefiting from all these benefits and all this stuff, but Dee Dee, like, it seemed like she was kind of getting like a high off the attention as well, too. Like, I think she craved the attention. Obviously, that's kind of what Munchausen is essentially, right? Where they're she's getting all this attention and she's like loving this, and they're like, she's probably like,
what a great mom.
yeah, what a great
Solve
mom.
all these
She's
problems.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really leaned into it. Did you guys see that they've actually reformed the concept of Munchausen's by proxy and they've changed the name of it? Did you
No, I
hear
did
anything
not.
about that?
When was that?
I'm not sure when it happened, but it was quite recently, I think. So there's two, it's called factitious disorder imposed on another. So factitious disorder is when, because people probably think, oh, someone's a hypochondriac, but they actually, a hypochondriac believes that they have the things, they see every symptom as indicative of illness or sickness.
Yeah.
Factitious disorder is when people basically fake or impose symptoms on themselves for attention. And so factitious disorder imposed on another is when you do that to a child or a parent or a dependent in order to get attention. And there's also malingering by proxy. So malingering is more about the tangible benefit, which would be the trips and the house from Homes from Humanity or whatever it's called. The Munchausen or the factitious disorder is more about the medical aspect of it. And the malingering by proxy is I can get benefits from people because I'll make them feel sorry for me and they'll get me stuff. So I think there's definitely both at play with Dee Dee. The thing that they do is they get people, if they have someone who's enabling them and buying into it, it feeds it and it gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
When you said malingering, that just remind me of like Pineapple Express when he's like lingering, man. You're malingering, man. Malingerers.
I mean, for the purposes of this, we'll call it Munchausen's by proxy. But yeah, I thought that was interesting that they've changed the name. And I don't know if that's because, I actually didn't look into what the background of the name. I'm assuming it's the person that created it. And I know with like Asperger's, that's not used anymore because I'm pretty sure that guy was a Nazi. So I might go back and actually look at why they've changed it. But things do get updated from time to time anyway. But my point of this is that basically both were at play here. That she got the sympathy and the attention that she fed on, and also the sort of obtaining benefit by deception, really. So yeah, there's real financial gain too.
Yep, that's a good point. All right, Kate, you want to get into the event?
Yeah, so as I lead into this this situation with Gypsy Rose, I really struggled preparing for this one because the volume of information is significant. Now, this situation or this event wasn't really a big thing here. The main factors were in the news, and I was like, oh, I recognize her. But it wasn't the big thing here that it was, over there. So I had a lot of information to go through, and a lot of it is very confusing because you've got people who are very biased on one side or the other, and then you've got people who are quite factual and quite down the middle, which is who I tried to kind of go with. But this was a very challenging one to prepare for, and I kind of held my judgment about Gypsy Rose until pretty much last night. I made a definitive decision about where I sort of sat on this issue because, yeah, I find her voice very grating. I won't lie. It was a challenge to listen to her talk a lot and to watch her be manipulative. So yeah, I really tried to come at this from a place of empathy as well as factual stuff.
Yep. This is a very, very complex case. So thanks for that, Sandy. We appreciate that.
Okay, so the thing where she went to the hotel, I saw as well, I had a note on that he was 35.
Yeah, it's gross.
And what I found very interesting about her is that the voice is different now to what it was. She does, you know how Paris Hilton does her, I love Paris Hilton, by the way, but you know how she can go in between the two? Because she's playing a character and she's a very smart woman. Yep. And you can see her flip between the two. Gypsy Rose does that. I know she had the helium voice when she was little, but she still uses that to her advantage. And I do wonder if the infantilizing of herself, that a certain type of male is attracted to that.
Yeah.
If someone said to me they were attracted to Gypsy Rose, I'd be checking their computer, put it that way. I don't know how else to say that.
I mean, obviously her mom lied about her age too. So like when she was 18, her mom told her she was like 14. And I know when the dad called up, like the dad she told the dad like to lie about her age. Like she's not 18.
Because she's going to die soon. So we don't want her to know she's getting close. Like there was, I mean, Dee Dee's manipulation was really extreme. Like,
Gypsy learned from the best. I mean, like they're both master manipulators. So that guy, if he's 35 and she's 18, that's still creepy as fuck.
Oh yeah, I'm glad that Dee Dee found her, but also anyway. So I noticed that she found Nick. They met through a Christian dating online site. I've never been one to do online dating, but I found it
creepy though. Right?
Yeah, I just thought, I wonder what, add the Christian element to it, and no shade to Christians, go for it. But yeah, that struck me as a little bit funny. So I think they were actually in communication for quite some time. And their initial plan to meet at the movies at a Cinderella, thing, screening, and he was dressed up and she was dressed up. And I think the plan was that, Dee Dee would meet him and go, oh, he's great for you. And they would be able to be together. And that backfired because she found him particularly creepy. They tried to have sex in the bathroom, but apparently that didn't go to plan either. I don't know that it was a pretty quick jump from, oh, we're going to do it this way to, well, we have no choice but to kill my mother.
Yeah.
It seems like a very sizable jump. And there are some people who think, and a lot of people have said, it's easy to say what you would do in that situation. She had no choice. Gypsy Rose had a myriad of choices available to her to deal with this situation. She was in constant. I agree that there are probably certain circumstances where you need to do what you have to do to survive. If you're being held captive, if you're in a situation where it's you or them, it's going to be them, if possible, because you want to save yourself. But she could have spoken to a number of people. She was friends with a neighbor. Mm-hmm. There were options available to her that didn't involve this.
Yep.
Didn't she show her neighbor the messages between the two of them?
Yeah. So the neighbor was aware.
Red flag, this is wrong.
Yeah. The neighbor was aware of the relationship. And I think that's how they eventually found Gypsy Rose. Yeah. Yeah. So she was talking to people, and it does sound like, obviously I'm sympathetic to the fact that Gypsy Rose went through terrible things.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, a lot of people go through terrible things, and worse than this. And it's not the answer. We can't make it a precedent where this is the acceptable course of action, which I think really the judicial system has kind of done, because she got off pretty easily. Anyway, that's for later. So her and Nick basically made a plan. Gypsy Rose bought the knife. He was meant to catch a bus from his home state and meet her at her house. And then whilst Dee Dee was asleep, she would allow him to have access to the house. She would go and hide while he committed the murder. And then they would escape together. What I found was interesting, and the reason they planned this was Dee Dee took medication to sleep, so they knew that she would be less resistant. But Gypsy Rose was talking about how he locked her in, because she tried to basically put it on him, and we'll talk about the arrest and everything later, but she tried to say that he locked me in the bathroom, but the lock was on the inside of the door.
Right.
I mean, we're not dealing with mental giants here, and I know she didn't have much of an education, but I think both of them are on the lower end of the scale for IQ as well. So, it was sort of the blind leading the blind. So yeah, he turned up. She gave him access to the house, and she went and hid whilst he stabbed Dee Dee, caught her by surprise while she was sleeping, and stabbed her 17 times. Apparently, she was calling out for Gypsy during this time. Basically, they did some cleaning up. Gypsy had purchased some cleaning products. They didn't clean all the blood. They pretty much just closed the door and left Dee Dee where she was, but they tried to clean footprints and fingerprints, anything else that would be identifying. And then Gypsy Rose, it turns out later on, she wanted to go to the bathroom and shave her legs and her pubic area to prepare for sex with Nick. And then they mailed the knife to his family home, which was not
so stupid.
I
had also heard that he said he wanted to grape Dee Dee's mom, and then Gypsy kind of said that she got graped herself, which is horrible. And I also had heard that she locked herself in the bathroom to like stop. She didn't want to hear her mom screaming or her mom like pleading for her life or something like that. But again, like we'll never know what happened between Nicholas and Gypsy, because they're the only people who know. Like if they did have sex, if he raped her or what,
Yeah,
Right.
It's interesting. It's very hard to believe anything that Gypsy Rose says.
Exactly.
And anytime she speaks, I just go. I mean, I have a pretty good radar for bullshit and an even better lack of tolerance for it. Yep. I find it pretty deplorable when people behave like this, and when they try to lie themselves out of a lie. I think that I probably oftentimes doesn't even know that she's doing it. But one thing I did find interesting is apparently she left the air conditioning on as low as it would go because it was June, it was hot weather, and she was concerned about her mother's body deteriorating quickly in the heat. I don't know if that was said to garner sympathy or to make herself look like it's the irony, like, oh, I murdered her, but, I wanted to make sure her body didn't decompose. Like, it's,
Yeah, you could also think that she was trying to like maybe stop the body from decomposing for the smell. So the smell, right. But I don't know that they're that smart. Like you said, I mean, this is lowest education in the world, probably us, America.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they traveled. Yeah, they then traveled to his home state. Is Wisconsin the state or is that the city? My American geography is not fantastic.
Let it this out. We're stupid here.
No, you're not. If you're not from there, why would you know? It's all good. Wisconsin, the place.
Is it?
No, it is. Wisconsin is the state, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dee Dee and Gypsy had a joint Facebook account, which Dee Dee posted that bitches. Am I allowed to say the D word?
Oh yeah,
rhymes with head. Yeah, okay. So
that bitch is dead. No.
Which raised some concerns, and people were like, have you been hacked? And eventually the body was found by a neighbor and police when finally, but I think Gypsy was probably like, why haven't they found her yet? And she actually did another post, which was just excruciatingly stupid, but she obviously doesn't know how computers work. Yeah. I fucking slashed that fat pig and graped her sweet innocent daughter. Her scream was so fucking loud, LOL on Facebook. That doesn't seem like the actions of someone who is remorseful and a full, just completely victim. She was a victim, but she's also absolutely on the other side of the fence as well. And
yep.
I think that leading up to the situation where the murder happened, one could feel a lot of empathy and sympathy for Gypsy Rose, but it's how she conducted herself after it and since leaving prison is what I'm kind of basing a lot of my opinions about her on. So the friend next door told the police about the relationship with Godejohn, traced the IP address to the parents' house within hours, and they were both arrested and then subjected to a pretty lengthy interrogation by police. I'm not sure who's doing that section, but I've got a few things I wanted to add about that when the time comes, because I listened to a podcast that was hilarious about the interrogation. You would not think so, but goddamn, it was funny. So yeah, that's where we're at now.
Yeah, that would be me. And of course, obviously, that Facebook post that pretty much cracked everything wide open. The arrested Gypsy Rose Blanchard represents one of the most stunning reversals in modern true crime. A case that began with a missing disabled girl and ended with the revelations that shattered everything the public thought they knew. Within 24 hours, a Facebook post meant to ensure a body's discovery would expose a decades-long web of medical fraud, abuse, and deception that fooled an entire community, medical professionals, and even law enforcement. So on June 14th, 2015, around 3:30 p.m., the Springfield, Missouri committee was shocked by a profanity-laden Facebook post on the account shared by Dee Dee and Gypsy Blanchard. And this is the bitch is dead post, followed by an even more disturbing message claiming graphic sexual violence. The post was so out of character that friends, like you said, Kate, thought the Facebook account was hacked. And obviously, Dee Dee and Gypsy both shared a Facebook account. About the post, she later admitted making them specifically to ensure her mother's body would be found quickly by law enforcement. But the decision to use such violent, shocking language inadvertently became the smoking gun that led police straight to their location in Wisconsin within hours. Sheriff Jim Arnott received the 911 call that evening after concerned neighbors couldn't reach the Blanchards by phone. Police had to wait for a search warrant, allowing neighbor David to climb through a window first. At 10:45 p.m., officers entered and immediately discovered Dee Dee's body. She had been stabbed 17 times, and she was already decomposing after several days, even with the air conditioning cranked to max.
Damn.
The digital forensics breakthrough came from an unexpected source, 23-year-old neighbor Aaliyah Woods-Manzi. She approached investigators with printouts of conversations, which you and Nate spoke about before, where Gypsy had mentioned her secret online boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn. These physical printouts contained his full name and details about their relationships from ChristianDatingForFree.com. You don't have to be lonely at FarmersOnly.com. Intelligence that provided crucial when Facebook cooperation allowed police to trace the IP address of the violent post directly to Big Bend, Wisconsin. So, approximately 3 a.m. on June 15, 2015, Waukesha County deputies surrounded the Godejohn family home 600 miles from the crime scene. What they discovered defied everything they expected to find. Instead of a kidnapped, wheelchair-bound victim with multiple disabilities, they found Gypsy Rose Blanchard walking normally, unassisted and in apparent good health. Because at first they just arrested Nicholas, and then when they saw Gypsy like walking around, they were like, "What the fuck?" And they took Gypsy in as well. So law enforcement had even prepared for a rescue mission involving a severely disabled young woman. Instead, they found someone who could walk unassisted and could do that very well. As Sheriff Arnott later noted, the wheelchairs were back in Missouri. Sheriff Jim Arnott's press conference warning became the pivot point that transformed public understanding of the case. His phrase, "Things are not always as they appear," would prove to be one of the greatest understatements in criminal justice history. Law enforcement was so confused by the deception that the original court documents listed 3 different ages for Gypsy, ranging from 19 to 23, and she was actually 23. The investigation revealed a financial fraud scheme spanning multiple states and years. Arnott warned the community not to donate any money to the GoFundMe accounts for the family, stating, "We really don't know the true background of this family." The extent of the deception was staggering. Gypsy's direct quotes about her arrest experience reveal the complex psychology of someone who was simultaneously a perpetrator and victim. Her most revealing statement captures the entire paradox. I would break down and just be terrified of what my life be like at the end of all of this. I guess they're just using her direct quote, and it doesn't sound like she'd be like smart or anything. Combined with, "Over here I feel like I'm freer in prison than living with my mom." She admitted being completely naive about consequences that never crossed my mind. I honestly don't think we got caught. Yet she also described being terrified during the arrest process, hiding in closets while SWAT teams surrounded the house, genuinely believing she and Goldie John could stick to a fabricated story.
So I listened to quite a few different podcasts, and I tried to not watch too many YouTube videos and clips, mainly because I wanted to preserve my algorithm, because I feel like I've got it curated pretty nicely now, and I feel like I'm going to get a lot of Gypsy Rose content. So I'm going to have to fix that. The things we do, hey, it's all right. It's all worth it. So one podcast I listened to, it's an Australian podcast called Monsters Who Murder. And there's two hosts. I didn't write the females. I think it might be Amanda, but she's a true crime author, and I think she's a criminologist as well. So she brings a really interesting perspective. And then Robert is the other host. And they basically go into depth about people's confessions. Mm-hmm. So they did an episode on Gypsy Rose and talked about, and there's a lot of clips from the interrogation. And obviously they were both interviewed almost simultaneously, but Gypsy's, I think, went for a lot longer because she really tried to keep up this charade of innocence. And Goldie John basically caved immediately and said, yeah, I did it. And, you know, he was very cooperative with police. What I found very interesting too was how manipulative Gypsy Rose was very clearly in this interrogation. This really helped me to form a decision about which side of the fence I sat on here. And I'm aware that I'm not privy to a lot of stuff, but I have eyes and ears and a brain. So what I'm seeing is evidently incredibly manipulative. The problem is that some people assume that manipulative people must be intelligent. I know a lot of incredibly manipulative people who are fucking idiots. But the ones that are smart tend to get away with it, because when you start to lie, and this is why it's best just to be honest, you got to remember which lie you told, and eventually you come unraveled. So to successfully lie for a long period of time, you need a pretty intelligent brain to do that. We're not dealing with mental giants here, so unsurprisingly, she does unravel relatively quickly, and it's actually quite gross watching her play the little innocent girl part, because she really amps up the voice and the tears, and the acting is terrible. As soon as the detective leaves the room, she stops crying and she just sits there. And what I found quite amusing about this podcast episode is Robert, the co-host, is very, very annoyed by this male detective who interviewed Gypsy Rose. This guy's analogies about snowballs and lead pencils, it's just, I don't know if you've watched any of the interrogation video, but he keeps cutting her off. She's trying to say stuff and he's cutting her off, and it's almost like he's kind of leading her, and she's trying to explain things to him. So Robert christened him Detective Dickhead, which was the way he refers to him. But there's one part where he just pauses it and he's like, Jesus Christ, and goes off on this rant about this detective. And I completely agree with him, because when they break it up, it is really interesting to listen to. So Monsters Who Murder, I recommend going and listening to that episode, because they do kind of cut out a lot of the stuff, because I think it was like 12 hours or something that she was interrogated for. It was a really long time.
Scott had watched it all, whatever video you're on.
God, yeah. And yeah, the whole, she's playing a part, definitely. And eventually she turns and sort of, you can see that the wheels are turning a little bit, and she's thinking, okay, well, he's obviously told them that he's done it, so I'm going to play the victim. And that's where she came out with, I thought this was going to happen to me and I would never. And she's, did my mum have a heart attack? And it's the worst acting ever. So, but yeah, I thought the interrogation, for anyone who's struggling to find their feeling or their position on this case, and I completely agree, it's a really difficult one to make a decision about, go listen to this interrogation, because it really highlights just how manipulative this girl is. And I think to this day is, and we'll get to that later. But it was a very interesting listen. And another podcast, another Australian one I'll just mention quickly, I listened to on the Mamma Mia podcast network. Mamma Mia is a sort of women's-led news outlet. It's sort of lowest common denominator journalism, basically. And they had this MJ Pack, who is an author and incredibly biased on Gypsy Rose's side. She's friends with her stepmother. Another interesting one to listen to, because this person just continues to make excuses for Gypsy Rose, basically. So, yeah, it's really hard to get an unbiased opinion about things and to make an unbiased opinion about things when you're getting, really interesting sides from people. So, yeah.
I mean, we can all agree that Gypsy's life at an early age was horrible, and she definitely she got shaped into being this manipulative person by another manipulative person who was taking advantage of the system, doing all sorts of messed up stuff to her own daughter just to feed her addiction of Munchausen or whatever we want to call it. And so when it gets into like her adult life, or when she does the killing, or when Nicholas does the killing, it's like you can't excuse. It's almost like some Charles Manson type shit where her hands are completely dirty, and we know that she could have just not necessarily walked away, but she could have got her neighbor. She could have, like, instead of going to the Comic-Con and meeting that guy, she could have like walked up to a cop and said like, "Hey, my mom is holding me hostage." She could have taken other ways instead of like planning a murder, against her mother. Like, it's inexcusable. People feel bad for her like childhood, for her childhood. And I think that's why people give her the benefit of the doubt. But again, like, I don't see how you can. I don't agree that she should have done, because I think she did like what, 8. She got 10 years. I think she did 8. I mean, I know we're gonna get into that.
She did 8 of 10.
I think we agree that she should be in there for life, or in there for at least 25 plus years, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. We all have bad things happen to us, some a lot worse than others. No one has an easy life all the time.
No.
And people who do bad things or behave poorly and use that as an excuse, every situation is different, but I get a lot of frustration because I know a lot of people who've been through, been to hell and back, and they're amazing, empathetic, kind people.
Exactly.
It's not...
Can't let that define you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's never an excuse to justify behavior. And like I said, we want to be careful about what precedents we're setting here, because I think, 8 years in prison, where she probably was, not in a maximum. I mean, I don't think she would have had the worst time in prison compared to, what she'd probably already been through. So yeah, it's not a lot of punishment for a pretty awful thing. And I think if we're going to start talking about excusing someone because of their experiences or their mental health, let's not forget, and I'm not excusing Dee Dee's behavior at all. She was a terrible person and a terrible mother, but she was also incredibly unwell. She had severe mental illness. She was seemingly molested as a child. From a very young age, she was manipulative and I think enabled by the people around her. And she had a lot going on in the mental health sphere. So, okay, if one person can be excused by people for their, oh, well, you went through this, therefore your behavior is excused, Dee Dee perhaps could have been helped. Dee Dee perhaps could have been not rehabilitated. Her daughter needed to be taken off her, and she probably should have had some circumstances occur as punishment for her, but she was also a very unwell woman. So
Before Nate gets into the judicial side of it, I want to say that the judicial system in America is fucking terrible. Look at the West Memphis 3, who I would love to eventually cover, which is another very complex case. But if you know the right person, or people don't like you, like, you can manipulate the system, or it's just horrible. Plea bargains, all this stuff. The West Memphis 3 is a perfect example of a horrible judicial system, and it just happens nonstop. There's so many people in the prison system who are not guilty. They get ran through it, and it's just terrible. It's America for you.
Not good.
Nate, judicial system, what you got?
Yeah. So, Gypsy Rose did not go to trial for her role in the murder. Instead, she accepted a plea deal in July of 2016, pleading guilty to second-degree murder. During the plea hearing, she admitted to conspiring with her online boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn. Is that what we figured it was? Godejohn?
Godejohn, yeah.
Go to the John and use the bathroom.
To kill Dee Dee as a means to escape years of abuse. The hearing was relatively straightforward and low-key, with Gypsy appearing composed but emotional at times. As part of a plea bargain, her attorneys obtained her extensive medical records from Louisiana to support claims of abuse. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison, which is the minimum for a second-degree murder in Missouri. She only served 8.5 years, which is 85% of her sentence, and was released on December 28th, 2023.
So Nicholas Godejohn received life in prison, but he also got an additional 25 years for evading the crime. And we don't know why Gypsy didn't get that as well, obviously because the plea bargain she got. It's kind of a stupid law. Like another reason why our judicial system is so fucking stupid. You get 25 extra years just for running.
Yeah. And the selectiveness with which that was applied.
Right.
Because if
Yeah.
you're going to apply it
That's
to one
more
of
than
them and
she
they
served.
both did it, like,
Yeah,
Exactly.
I
that's
think
more than her one sentence.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that there was a lot at play there with the manipulation, sympathy, public opinion. I think a lot of people were vocally sympathetic to her, and that probably impacted it as well. But yeah, I mean, he cooperated. He admitted he shouldn't have done what he did. I think he was a victim as well in this situation.
He was autistic. His mom took Tylenol when he was being
Yeah.
born.
So much Tylenol.
So much
So much.
Tylenol.
Yeah.
Liquid.
Extra strength, liquid, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Not to make light of autism and not to make light of Nicholas, because again, he killed someone, and I almost feel like worse for him than I do for Gypsy because he got manipulated. He's not very intelligent. She wasn't very intelligent. She never went to school. He deserves time. I don't necessarily believe that he deserves life in prison. I feel like 25 years would have been a legit sentence alone for that. But I don't think he has. There's no. I don't think he has a chance of parole. I'm pretty sure he's got a life sentence in 25 years, which is
life sentence with no parole for the murder. That was the murder charge.
Yeah, he got first degree murder and she got second degree murder.
I feel more sympathetic to him as well. I mean, I think it's an interesting. I did hear that quite recently there's been a push to have his case reheard on the basis.
He appealed his court, his thing in 23, and it got denied.
And it's such a slow moving process too.
Yeah.
Maybe another 10 years you'll get another chance.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example why the West Memphis Three were in prison for 20 plus years. And when they got out, they struck a deal where they basically had to admit that they were guilty. It was a weird, I forgot what it's called, but they're not innocent of the charges, but they were able to get out. It was some fucking stupid deal, but there's some backwoods fucking shit back there anyway in Arkansas, where the fuck they were, West Memphis.
It's all over the world too. Do you remember the Daniel Day-Lewis film In the Name of the Father about the Conlands and the
hell yeah, it's awesome.
It's such
American-born Daniel Day-Lewis.
I do feel a lot of sympathy. I mean, I think from what I heard, it was they were doing it on the basis of his autism and that he had a lessened comprehension of, I don't know how that would go. I think the judicial system would be loath to set a precedent for a condition that is very real, but does not have a definitive, you can't do a blood test and definitively say that someone has it. A lot of people are diagnosed with it by professionals. It is a sort of situation where a lot of people admittedly self-diagnose and believe they have autism, and a lot of them probably do because they know themselves and they can see themselves in that sort of diagnostic information. But we don't want a situation where people can say, oh, but I did this because I've got autism and feel that that's a justifiable defense. I think every single situation needs to be looked at. But I think it was the blind leading the blind with these two. And they really fed off each other. And I think that she was definitely the more manipulative and the one who led the situation. But the lack of maturity on both of their parts and just a complete lack of knowledge about how the world really works. I think they tried, was it her and Nicholas that had the dominant submissive? They tried that. And
yes, yeah.
It was, it was like kids playing dress up. It was really cringy to see and really disappointing. Or not disappointing, it was really sad because those are, valid things that people do. And a lot of the time people who are in a more submissive role are actually quite dominant in their day-to-day life. And that's why they choose that. But I do get the feeling that she was sort of playing a part to try and appease him or entice him. And, it was just all very sad and all very preventable. And I don't agree that this kid, well, he's not really a kid now, but I don't agree that he's in prison for the rest of his life. And she's not.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's grossly unfair and unjust.
Yeah, the fact that she's out is
Yeah.
an even more of a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you guys read any of the emails that they were doing that she had
No,
while she was
thank
in
God.
prison
I
and
can
all?
imagine, but
It's so odd. Some 50-year-old grandmother was sending her $50 a week, and she would call her, like, I wish I took these notes, some goddess. And then each day she would sign off as, like, her loyal servant or something like that. And it was a very dominant, weird thing going on there.
yeah.
And then Gypsy eventually said that she was married, and the woman cut all ties and left. It's just
Wow.
so weird. But like even emails with her dad, it was very like it wasn't a father-daughter relationship. It was very like almost sexual in nature, which was a little weird.
In her defense, I mean, again, she was never really a child. She definitely got fucked up at the beginning, but I'm not excusing the murder or what she's doing now. She was born from manipulation, and she, clearly is extremely manipulative. And
Mhm.
like you said, not all manipulative people are smart. She just, knows how to
I think
work
she
the
lived in a
system.
fantasy world, She
Yeah,
loved the
basically.
Disney princesses, and she probably, I don't know, maybe she watched some porn or some movies with submissive people in them and thought, oh, I'll do that because he'll like that. And she had no real comprehension of what. And this is the problem. I mean, Dee Dee kind of forgot that eventually those hormones are going to kick in. And that's when she started trying to make secret meetings and going on dating online sites. And yeah, she didn't kind of factor that in, Dee Dee. And that was the downfall, really, was when Gypsy Rose started to want to explore life more and actually grow up a bit. And
Yep.
Mhm.
yeah, she had no knowledge or education about sex at all, whether the actual biological part of it or the emotional side of it. So yeah, it was a disaster waiting to happen.
Right.
Yeah, so Gypsy's out of prison right now, and Kate, what's going on with that?
Look, I really wanted to bring my A game with this part of it. I may falter into the B lane occasionally because honestly, the volume of information about her since her release is just extreme. And this was another situation that really helped me to make my decision about where I sat with Gypsy Rose. I mean, there's reality shows that then one of the first things she did upon release was get onto social media and do a video to her followers. And she was so excited about how many followers she had. And in even the relationships that she had in prison were really confusing to me because there's this Ken guy who she seemed to be madly in love with.
Mm-hmm.
And then he broke it off with her. And then this Ryan, who
Right. Yeah. That's in the email.
Yeah, the Peter Griffin looking motherfucker.
yes. Oh my God. When Scott put the voice in. Now, I find it really interesting that people would write. I mean, I get people being enamored. I don't get it, but I understand the concept. I'm personally not enamored by serial killers, but people who write to people in prison who they know are never going to get out. She was going to get out though. And this is the really, I don't know, the balls to do that. Like, I'm just going to shoot my shot with someone in prison. I find that really interesting. I was wondering how much older than her he was. And there's only about 5 years, I think, in them because I was a little bit creeped out by their interactions because there was this show on YouTube, or it's like a series of clips. I'm not sure where else it's screened, but it's, Gypsy Rose life after lockup. And he's infantilizing her a lot. And I find that really gross. I mean, I don't find dominant submissive stuff gross in general, but in this situation, it was just really icky how he treats her. And I get that she has no idea what she's doing most of the time, but it seems very confusing when she married Ryan and was still with Ken, or I couldn't really get my head around that part. But I watched some of the life after lockup, and it was very clear how manipulative she is in that relationship with Ryan. I mean, they've broken up now. They got married and they've divorced since.
Right.
But she's talking about, in one of the clips, she's talking about wanting to get a dog. And he's saying to her, well, a dog is a massive responsibility. So, like you don't really go out much. You do need to walk it. And he's not wrong. She's never probably owned a pet and probably has no idea of what is involved in that. She immediately gets up and walks off and she's like, oh, you're treating me like my mother treated, she goes sort of from 0 to 10, and he's like, oh, no, you can get the dog, you can get the dog. And you can see that she's completely manipulated that situation to get the outcome that she wanted. And these clips, so performative. There's one where I think it's her stepmother calls her and she's on speakerphone and she's like, oh, I saw Ken. He was talking about how much he loves you. And it's evident that she's still in love with this guy. And that's ultimately what leads to her and Ryan breaking up. But I just find it really amusing that someone's talking about, I want to get on with my life. I don't want the attention. And yet they went on a trip. Her and Ryan went on a trip to New York and walked around Times Square and complained about how they're getting recognized. You could not go to a more heavily populated place.
Right.
He wanted to just go off in the sunset, and she wanted to be like in the limelight.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when they were getting out, driving home from prison. He's like, oh, I get to touch your leg. I was like, oh, that's fucking creepy as fuck. I know you guys are married, but this is fucking weird.
Yeah, I recoiled a little bit. And yeah, she's just so interesting to watch. I mean, the voice, thankfully, is an octave or so lower than before. It's still very high. Look, I'm sure my voice annoys the shit out of some people. It's fine. I don't mind if people, but I couldn't watch too much of it, honestly. I just find her so grating and so manipulative and just full of shit. I don't know. You could see the demise occurring. I think she started talking about, are you happy? And he's like, well, yeah, I'm happy. Oh, you obviously are already talking to Ken. I think he could see what was going to happen. And they broke up and she immediately went to Ken. She got pregnant. I don't even know, to be honest, if they're still together, her and Ken, because I'm getting really mixed messages with that. But yeah, it was interesting to see. Like, I would have had a higher opinion of her because she talks about how she's an advocate and I'm going to work with Kim Kardashian. I'm going to, help people. I mean, the existence of this thing does exist, but it's really not that common. Yeah. So, she talks about how she wants to help people and that she's doing it all for the right reasons. I would have had a lot more respect for her if she had gone, you know what, I've served my time. And yes, she has served her time. And some people say, well, now she can do what she wants. She didn't serve enough time, I don't think. So
nope, agreed.
I don't think she can walk away and go, oh, well, I've served my time. It's all done. No, what you did was wrong and you should still be in prison. But if she'd gone off and thought, I'm just going to lay low, I'm going to rehabilitate myself, I'm going to learn how to exist as a human being in the outside world, and I'm going to try and do something positive with my life, I would have had a lot more respect for her. The fact that she basically spends most of her time on Twitter or social media or TikTok engaging with comments, I mean...
Fighting back. Yeah, she fights back on her comments.
It's unproductive use of time. I just think that it really feeds into my opinion of her being that she loves the attention. She's got really no concept of what she's really done. And whenever she turns on the crocodile tears, I don't really feel any sympathy for her. And I know that there are people who are strongly supportive of Gypsy Rose and very negative to anyone who doesn't take their opinion. This is just my opinion, but yeah, my lack of sympathy for her is pretty strong because I feel like she's gotten off very lightly for something that she did, and she's really milking it and not using her position in a positive way that she could be.
I 100% agree with that. I don't have much sympathy for her at all. Again, like, I have sympathy for her childhood. I know it shaped who she is, and that's unfortunate, and her life could have gone in a completely different direction. But yeah, violence is never the answer. And again, she should at least serve 20 years. This guy took the whole brunt of it,
Yeah.
That, and she grew up learning how to manipulate the media and see the positive spin on everything. To be like, all right, look, if I say this, I get this. If I do this, I get this. Same thing with her social media. She always claimed like that wasn't what she wanted to do, but in her emails, she's like counting the statistics. She's going through the numbers. She's tracking what she's doing more than she's leading on. So she knows what she's doing. She's trying to pull that influencer type card.
And she's got a reality show.
Even with the Kim Kardashian things. Like, I want to be this good person, but there's more to that,
It's nice to feel like when you put a post up and you get likes, like, not that it's like, oh my God, but it feels good. So I can't imagine like getting the response that she got, with 10 million followers plus or whatever. And she's just getting all this positive affirmation, giving her that excuse. Minus, again, she did fight back, she said that the D was fire for Ryan or whatever because someone was like talking shit about Ryan.
Yeah, I just had to block that out of my. I don't need therapy after researching this freaking episode. I think too, when you look at people who are famous, and I mean, I guess there's two definitive groups there because there's the people who want celebrity and there's the people who choose a path of creativity or whether it's musical or acting or writing. And one of the side effects of that is celebrity, but that's not what they're in it for.
Yep.
And she could have fallen into that second category where she was like, you know what, I'm going to use my notoriety, I guess, or my public, what's the word I'm looking for? I've got no English skills today. My fame, I guess, or my infamy.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and pivot that and use it for good because I can't help that I'm well known. So you know what, I'm gonna try and do the right thing with it.
Right.
But then
Use
there's
my
people
likeness.
the people who just go, you know what, celebrity is the end goal, not the unintended side effect of what they've chosen to do with their life. I don't know if that really made sense, but you know, she's clearly like looking past the middle ground and just going, oh, celebrity.
Right.
What can I get out of this? And that's how she's been raised because, yes, she went through awful things. She had terrible things happen. She also had some really massive amounts of money come her way and trips and sympathy and coddling and people treating her like an angel.
Right.
As a result of it. And there are people who go through worse that don't get any of that. I'm not saying a trip to Disneyland negates being abused by your mother, but when she talks about, oh, my mother chained me up, I don't even know if I believe that because I don't believe anything she says, really.
Right.
That could have happened, but did it happen? I don't know. Her mother was definitely abusive. Her mother was definitely very mentally ill and awful things happened. But yeah, we don't even really know the extent of it. Yeah, I don't believe people who lie. No, we won't. Yeah. I don't think she's capable of telling the truth, to be honest. I think everything has some level of everything has some level of manipulation on it.
Yeah. Like I listened to You Run True Crime, their episode on Gypsy Rose, and they were talking about some of the interviews and how she would control like the interviews where like if Ryan said something, she would like squeeze his arm like to tell him to stop talking and stuff. And there was one point where he was like, listen, like you've never had schooling before, and she like squeezed his arm, was like, shut the fuck up, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
which is exactly what her mom did.
Yeah, and it's she's learned from the best, I guess, and she's ended up, but you know, she could have made a choice to not replicate her
100%.
mother's behavior and not be that sort of person.
Break that cycle.
Break the cycle. She's got therapy available to her. There's plenty of people who. She did do something with Dr. Phil, apparently. Now, I did not watch that.
I heard that today, actually.
Yeah, I thought I can't, as much as I'm dedicated to this podcast, I can't be listening to Dr. Phil and Gypsy Rose.
No. It was bad.
He's
fuck
just
Dr. Phil.
Yeah,
I thought it would be like a better synopsis, but it was just so bad.
He's a fucking moron. He's going on ice raids and shit. He's a fucking idiot.
What a disappointing human being, honestly.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I drew the line at that. I couldn't do it. But yeah, so I feel like there's so much that can be said about her leaving and all these things that she's done, but basically what it boils down to, I guess, is that she's really chosen that path of celebrity and seeing what she can get out of the situation, which is the way she was raised. So yeah, and she's got a kid now, so that's terrifying.
That is terrifying.
Good luck, kiddo.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if she ends up in prison again, or she does something like insane or stupid, or kills her daughter, or kills her kid, or does something kills an animal. Like,
yeah,
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it wouldn't shock me.
Well, that's it. She doesn't seem to have really received the mental health help that she probably needs. I think that her stepmother and father, I mean, her father's accent is so interesting to me. I don't even know what's going on there. He's obviously from the South, but he sounds like it's like that Amish accent. Is that
it's weird. Yeah,
it's very odd. I was really distracted by it, but he seems to genuinely love her, and I think that I don't know. I think he enables her a bit, but the stepmother seems pretty switched on. I hope that maybe she can, you know, but it really depends on who she's in a relationship with. I don't know that she's one for relationships. I think it's probably way too much of a minefield for her, and maybe she'd be better off just being enveloped by her family and able to raise this child in as normal a situation as possible, but I think she likes the limelight too much, and that's going to be her downfall. Yeah.
100%.
Mm.
All right. Well, that was our episode on Gypsy Rose. Thanks a lot, Sandy. I hope you liked that. It was a super complex case.
Yeah.
I hope we did it justice for you. I think we did. I think this is going to be a fun episode, and that's a wrong choice of words.
Super fun.
Scratch that one.
Yeah. But yeah. Thanks to everybody who listened. Again, you can find us on Apple Pod. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube. You can find the show on You Can Eat That Crust. Like I said, proud members of the You Run Podcast Network. You can find all our shows and all the other awesome shows on yourunpodcast.com. If you want to join the Patreon for just as low as $1, you can get episodes up to a week early, and you can help out the show. Next up on Pizza Bones, we're going to pivot a little bit. We're either going to be talking a true crime movie, doc series, or just a straight up TV series. And this time we went with this TV series. It's streaming on Amazon. It's called DES, and it's about Dennis Nielsen. And that is a wild one. So we're going to absorb those 3 episodes and check it out. And then we're going to craft a good show for you. So stay tuned for Dennis Nielsen. And you guys have anything else to add?
I was going to ask you what you guys been up to.
I got a good one then for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working today. We've spoken on other podcasts. I'm working on The Walking Dead. So I'm on set and I look up and there's these zombies having a dance competition. Like, I have it on video. I'll show you sometime. But yeah, I look up. One of them's like doing like the moonwalk, and then the one next to him's doing something else. They're going all out. And then as soon as they yell action, boom, they just go right into zombie mode and they just start like doing their zombie walk like the way they need to. It was the weirdest thing.
That's awesome.
I loved it.
Oh, I wonder if they were doing Thriller. I hope they were doing Thriller.
There was Thriller moves. Like,
Oh
that's
my
what
God.
caught my eye. I'm like, are they really doing this right now?
That is amazing.
But yeah,
I want your job. That's so cool.
full get up. It was wild.
Thriller, video by insane person Jonathan Landis, who is a piece of
there's a fun
shit.
Yeah.
He did make some good movies, but he's a piece of shit. Yeah, he did. He did a lot of amazing films, but he definitely killed
It's such
3
a shame.
people in this movie.
I think we could probably cover that actually, couldn't we?
Absolutely.
That was really sad.
Yeah. We just covered it in Death in Films a little
Oh.
bit. So check that out. Death in Films. You Can Eat That Crust. Everybody, thanks for listening and have a good night.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.